Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, council. I'd like to call to order this city council meeting on Monday, June 3rd, 2024 at 7 p.m. There is a quorum present. Council member Horick and Council member Watkins are not present and will not be with us this evening. If you would bow your heads with me, offer the invocation, then we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Almighty Father, Almighty God, and Father in heaven, we give you thanks for all the many blessings. We praise your holy name, Creator of all things. We thank you so very much for your guidance, your understanding, your wisdom, and we pray for our nation, our great state of Texas, and for our own city, for our Tarrant County government, and for our city, Haslet, Texas. In Jesus' name, amen. And if you'll stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 3 is citizen participation and comments. Do we have any that? Please, sir, if you'd, when you come up to the podium, turn on that mic. There is a button on that microphone, and state your name and address, please. And yes, we are getting a new audio video system. It's been approved. Just a matter of time.
Testing. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lance Soros. This is my wife, Yolanda. She is here today to kick me in the leg if I say something stupid. We came here tonight to bring it to your attention about the rainwater drainage that's occurring in my neighborhood. Several years ago, Gary came out to my residence to look at my backyard, how the flooding was affecting my backyard, knocking down my fences, stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. So he wanted me to come to the town council meeting to bring it up. That was several years ago. I finally made it, but not for that reason. I'm here today to bring up the flooding in my front yard. Several years ago, they put new roads in my neighborhood. I live in Haslet Park, right up here by the donut shop on Schreiber. When they redid the roads, my house sits lower than the corner lot now, mine and my neighbors. So the water has no way to drain out of my yard, the rainwater. It sits in my yard. So the water coming off my house is running towards there. It's designed to go that way, to hit that culvert and get drained out to my neighbor's yard. Well, the water is not moving. It stopped. The drop off from the road to my yard is so steep, I cannot cut it with the lawnmower. I have to use a weed eater. And I have an acre lot, so that's a lot of weed eating to do in the front yard. We came here tonight to ask the city council to see if there's anything you can do to maybe clean out the culverts, redig the culverts so the water does flow out of my yard. Like I said, the backyard was a problem, but it's not a priority. I could deal with the water flooding back there. I just can't deal with the flooding in the front of my house because it's coming all the way up to my house now. I've done everything. I put grain barrels up, not helping. I spent the last several weeks every day draining water out of my yard. So I invite all of you, after this meeting is over, to drive past my house. You don't got to get out. Just drive past my house and look at my front yard. I don't have to say nothing else. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
I will get all that information, my address, to the mayor. I'm sure he'll distribute to all of you.
Thank you.
I have videos, pictures, everything.
Good.
Thank you.
Do we have any more speakers online? All right, let's move on to item 4, items of community interest. Independence and fireworks celebration. That's Friday, June 28th, 6 p.m. Yes, our events planner, Katrina White, still accepting sponsors and vendors, but I hear that's filling up fast. Storm brush drop off. We had the recent storms. It caused a lot of downed trees and brush related. So we have by appointment only. If you'll call Mr. Adam Leeper and schedule a drop-off time. Haslet is hiring. We have a number of positions, and not all of them are listed here. Well, I think they are, but no, not all of them. If you'll go visit haslet.org, employment opportunities, you'll get the full listing and make application thereof. Item 5, I want to introduce to you Mr. Don Bobbitt. He is our chief appraiser from the Tarrant Appraisal District, and with him is Mr. Grady Ewing. Mr. Bobbitt.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. My name is Don Bobbitt. I'm the new chief appraiser. I've been here since February 1st as in my role. I brought Grady from an outside district, so we're coming in hopefully trying to address some issues that have been brought up in the past. A lot of it is to improve relationships with entities, and so that's why we're trying to make the rounds, introduce ourselves to the different city councils and governing bodies. That way, if y'all have any feedback for us or any issues that y'all want to address, we can hear it directly from y'all. My email address is chiefappraiser@tad.org. Y'all can always reach out to me or call the office. I'm more than happy to take a phone call or come out and meet with any of y'all. We can set up a time if y'all have any specific questions y'all want to know about. A lot of it goes into communication and transparency. There have been issues, I guess, in the past, and so we're trying to address those. We're trying to, like we had a ransomware incident a month or two after I arrived. So we try to make the public aware of what was going on, but at the same time not release too much information where we also put ourselves at more risk. And so it's a fine line of letting people know what's going on, but not letting out, the cat out of the bag and putting more people at risk. We did recover in about 25 days in our outward appearance with public-facing utilities became available and started working again, not 100%, but a lot of it was restored within 25 days. We were still actively restoring our website and actually improving it from beyond what it was last year. There were a lot of issues with the website last year, and I think already we're beyond those capabilities. Our appraisal database actually wasn't compromised. They did break a lot of our servers. They damaged a lot of stuff. We did have viable backups, and so we were able to restore back, but a lot of the servers were kind of toasted. So we're kind of had to re-image and rebuild all those servers, and we've kind of done based on priority, based on what the public sees and what the public needs. So we've kind of reset them slowly as we move forward. The board of directors has worked with us very well. They've authorized us to spend close to $1 million in all new computer equipment. A lot of our PCs were 10 to 15 years old, well outside of date. Software, we're going to be replacing the Camus system in the next few months, or at least we'll go out to bid on it. There's a lot of internal procedures that will be changing, how we can maintain confidential data to make sure that if there ever is another breach, it's not so much a question of if you're going to get breached, it's more of a question of when you're going to get breached, especially in this day and age. But we want to make sure that we have any data that we maintain is as confidential as, or at least as secure as possible, even if they do manage to get the servers. A lot of our strategic goal moving forward is moving to a cloud-hosted environment. We want to separate all of our different data sources. That way, if anybody does compromise one of those systems, they don't have keys to the entire kingdom. Right now, everything is inside our building. A lot of the software and equipment is very old. So we're kind of working through that based on a most vulnerable approach. We are doing a Camus system. That's our mass appraisal system. So this August, hopefully the board will allow us to purchase a new version. There's been a lot of issues with the current platform called Momentum. And so hopefully we can replace that. My goal would be to have the new system in place by next August. So this year is a little too quick. The system usually takes about a full year to get the new system implemented. Even that is kind of quick. So we want to run both systems side by side, make sure the tax office can receive the import, make sure they can receive all our data, and make sure y'all understand with the reports that we generate. If there are any changes to the reports, we want to make sure that y'all have that y'all understand what we're providing to y'all. Right now, we're expecting to have 200 to 250,000 protests, which isn't bad considering the number of properties that we have. It's running right around 20% of the total number of protests. We resolve about 90% just internally. So the staff, residential and commercial guys, they try to avoid making people go to a formal hearing. And so right now, the last several weeks, once the notices went out, my guys, we had a room set up with 15 appraisers in it. And as people would just come in, we would resolve it usually within about 15 minutes with the average wait time. Right now, if people come in, it's about a 6-minute wait if someone has an issue with the property, disagrees with it. Those that we can't get resolved will go before the full board. And those will be, the appraisal review board is a board that are made up of taxpayers that are appointed currently by the district judge. And that'll move to our board or back to our board of directors come July 1st. And so those are the people, they're not appraisers, they're not anything, they're just usually retired people that live in the community for 2 years, and they're able to resolve the dispute. So my appraisers will say why we think it's valued at a certain amount. The taxpayer has the presentation. They have up to 3 to 5 minutes to really make their case, and then the ARB rules on it, and whatever they say is kind of what goes unless you want to take it to court or arbitration. But right now, residential deadline has passed. We still, I think, have some commercial properties pending. But we do expect to have right around 250,000 protests that will have to get resolved by July 25th so we can certify the roll on time. If y'all have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
Of the information that was breached, what type of information, and did you notify the people whose information was breached?
There were less than 300 people whose information was compromised. There was basically one storage drive that was compromised, and that the threat actors could prove that they accessed. And so we went through that. We were able to download that entire database back from them, and we're able to scrub it. Me and my staff went through it looking for people that might have been compromised. The attorneys went through it, and they notified the 300 people that were found. Most of it had to do with social security numbers and driver's license information. And so a lot of that, on the state form for the homestead application, it has a place to put that. Like social security number, we don't really need, but it's on the state form, and so sometimes people will fill it out. And with our imaging system, we do have the capability to redact that, and so we've made those changes because we don't need social going forward. So.
And then one other question, you also had an online system where you can protest.
Yes, sir.
Do you still have that in place?
Yes, sir. It's up and running right now, or at least it was until the deadline. So if you haven't made it to your protest deadline, then you can still use it. Like commercial properties can still file a protest online. Yes, sir.
Well, I want to say that a lot of changes happened in TAD. I've been involved with TAD, not officially, but attending meetings and watching. Of course, there were a number of challenges in going back a couple of years, and a lot has happened in recent months. And Mr. Bobbitt is one of those changes that have affected a positive attitude. I keep in contact, and other people keep me updated with regard to TAD, and there's a very positive feeling and attitude about TAD right now, which has not existed in a long time. So, and Mr. Ewing, I'm sure you're part of that change. But Mr. Bobbitt, thank you so very much. We're happy to have you as leader of the Tarrant Appraisal District.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. If y'all have anything else, y'all have questions, reach out to me. We'll either set up another meeting or we can do it informally. Let me know if you have any issues.
Very good. Council, any questions from Mr. Bobbitt? Thank you, sir.
Y'all have a good night.
You're welcome to stay, but the rest of it you might find boring. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Council, let's go to item 6. Haslet Parkway Construction Project, an update. I have a presentation here for you, and it's going to be somewhat updating you on current status with a little bit of history and where we are at present and decisions that have to be made. Currently, this is Haslet Parkway. It's in 2 parts, but it's starting at the very bottom. You'll see that Haslet Parkway starts at I-35. Part of that project was intermodal going to the north, but Haslet Parkway continues on to all the way to our western city boundary, if you'd refer to the top drawing portion of that drawing, and it goes to our western city boundary. That which is highlighted in yellow is completed and open to traffic. It's been completed and open to traffic since March 2023. Actually, March 31st of 2023. So it's been operational for over a year now. That is, which is highlighted in blue, and up on the second piece is, and at the end, that's the approximate location where concrete has been poured. It's to the east side of the Legacy Learning Center. And 2 lanes have been, or actually 4 lanes, two lanes in each direction have been poured. But there is the curb work on the medium has been done, but there is still a significant amount of work to be done as far as grading and things of that nature. It is not in any way right now to be open to public travel. We are addressing that and asking, because there's subdivisions asking when this could be open for public access. So that's being addressed with TxDOT and the contractor at this time. So from this approximate location to out to the west is essentially the remaining that has to be formed. So if we would go to the, not yet, well, yes, the minutes. Okay, and if you would zoom up on that highlighted, those, item number 1. There we go. Okay. For the past many months, my updates have been with regard to we have utility problems. We have utility problems. And those are the utilities. Item number 2. Each one is independent to be relocated so the project can progress. Well, that has posed a huge problem in getting those relocated. If you look at item D, it says build grant expiration. Now, this was, this is going back a number of years when this build grant was put together. Identified in there was a date, December 1st, 2024, is when substantial completion had to be made. A milestone. As you can see now, up on A, contractor substantial completion, their estimate is now March 16th of 2026. We're 15 months past that date. There's no opportunity here for recovery. Early on, we kept pressing and pressing what's a opportunity for recovery, and it just was not successful. And because we're reliant all on all these utilities, and it just did not happen. So we're at a point now that decisions have to be made. I'm going to go back in time a little bit, and much of it has to do with the bridge. In April of 2021, and I won't take a whole lot of time, but April of 2021, there was a shooting in Sedera near an elementary school, and it made the news. Yes, it did. And after that, and the consequence is that there were 4 police cars and an ambulance sitting on Avondale-Haslet Road at the railroad tracks for 45 minutes, waiting for a train to pass so they could go respond. Well, that was unacceptable, so all the powers that be, and generally North Texas, got together, including our state representative on down, and said, we're going to build a bridge. And May of 21 is when I took seat as mayor. And having an engineering background, well, I know that you don't do a bridge design overnight. And I had decided then, well, I'll give them 4 or 5 months, and then if I don't see anything, because that design has to come across the city's desk for review. The city owns this project. That 5 months went by, and I did not see anything, so I made the phone calls. And I was informed at that time that, yes, there was a decision, actually in a press release, a bridge would be built. But shortly thereafter, quote unquote, the city called and said they don't want that bridge. And I'm going, oh my God. Why would you make that? But nonetheless, I told that person, who is a very senior person in North Texas regional traffic design, that under no uncertain terms, Haslet wants that bridge and needs it now. So if you'll bring up the next slide. That's it. Okay. This is the bridge that was being spoke of at that time. This is a bridge over Burlington Northern Santa Fe tracks, FM 156 and Schoolhouse Road. Next slide. What was proposed and came back with. Now, I say, and we had several meetings. We'll go back to that previous slide. I requested a meeting with all the stakeholders, and all the stakeholders involved the North Central Texas Council of Governments, TxDOT leaders, our state's representative, and members of other industry, leaders of other industries. There's all in total, there's probably about 35 people that we met at the Laterra Kitchen. And the first meeting, this was the bridge envisioned. And it was stated, well, this bridge would cost, about $32 million. But we'll meet again here and confirm these things. Couple of months go by, and another meeting was called of the stakeholders at Laterra Kitchen. If you go to the next slide. This was the bridge proposed over just the railroad track. That bridge is $16 million. And, the Regional Transportation Commission had agreed to fund in whole this bridge, because there was no bridge included in the original design. It was all at grade. But having this, I and others in engineering and public works started looking at this. We do not, because on the leaving side, on the right side, if you'll show that slope right there, that is what is called a 6% grade. It is the maximum grade that TxDOT can build. It's a matter of last resort. And that's what had been proposed here. And we started paying more attention to it. And that this can be operational problems. So we looked at it from an operational and maintenance aspect and became very concerned. Haslet will own this bridge. Any maintenance, any operations, anything will be performed by the city of Haslet. So I knew that our suspicions could only be substantiated by analysis. I requested TxDOT to do an analysis on this that is called a site and braking distance analysis. And there's a criteria used, AASHTO, that's an acronym, and that traffic engineers use to do road and bridge design assessments. Next slide. I did not get any response. So yes, I am an engineer, not a roadway engineer, but competent in my ability to read and learn and perform mathematics and graphical analyses. And I did such using the criteria of AASHTO. Here you'll see an analysis of stopping distance analysis on a dry road with a reaction time of 2 seconds. And if I read the parentheses, there's reaction time is inclusive. There's a perception time when you come over. You see something, and then a brake reaction time. I've got to make a decision, put my foot on that brake. And then there's the distance, because you're still traveling, to bring the car to a stop at a average deceleration of rate of, I think is about 11.6 feet per second. Nonetheless, what I identified here, now I'm going to make a note here, this reaction time. I used 2 seconds here. The actual criteria is 2.5. So what that means is there's even another half-second delay in being able to, getting your foot on the brake. Nonetheless, what I identified here down on the curb in that where it says that yellow highlight in the collision, I do want to make this point. AASHTO, that criteria that everyone uses, does not assume that anyone is stopped at that intersection. It assumes the intersection is clear. And I know for a fact that's not true. So this is a functional situation. This is a situation of reality. And I have been out here at that intersection a number of times at 4:30 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, spending no less than an hour and a half or 2 hours at each time, documenting how many cars stack up at that intersection. If the green light is on FM 156, guess what stopped? Avondale Haslet Road. So I used an assumption. I cited all my assumptions on the bottom right. And used a 10-vehicle queue. It's acceptable according in traffic, for each vehicle, it's 30 feet. You got distance in front, distance in back, and when you stack that up, it's an average of 30 feet per vehicle. So there's 300 feet. When I use that, that's in the bottom, in the graph on the slope. You see that little green area right there. If you might want to blow up on that graph. Okay, yeah, keep going down. Get the whole graph in. That green area, that's the queue. The bottom right is a little automobile. That's at the stop bar. That's that white line at the stoplight. And I got 30 cars backed up. What I have shown here, on a dry road, using a 2-second reaction time, not 2.5, there's a collision. You cannot come to a stop. All right, if you'll go to the next slide, please. And go, and here, this is a wet road. The coefficient of friction used by traffic engineers for dry road is 0.7. That's the coefficient of friction between the tire and the road, whether it be concrete or asphalt. When you have a wet road, that coefficient of friction is 0.35, whether it be concrete or asphalt. I use that coefficient of friction in this analysis, keeping all other things constant. And look at the increase of the collision zone. You're going to have a wreck. We know that it does not ice up in North Texas. It does. If that bridge ever ices up, we just have to shut it down. There is no stopping. So this is a operational issue, a real-world operational issue. I completed all this work. I started this work in early part of January of this year. I completed the work in February, and I sent all of this information both to TxDOT, senior leadership in Fort Worth District, and to the North Central Texas Council of Government. And I got no reply. Other than, well, we wouldn't recommend anything if it wasn't safe. And I'm going, really? I said, if it's safe, why don't we build every bridge in the TxDOT inventory in the state of Texas at 6%? Because we're spending 3 times the amount of money for these ramps than we should, if all of this is acceptable. Well, there's a reason not. The typical slope on a ramp is 2% for a reason. Nonetheless, so if we could go to the next slide. This is the bridge I've been lobbying for. It is a bridge over BNSF Railroad, FM 156, and Schoolhouse Road. And I just put on the bottom right, just to give you a point of reference, is there's the Legacy Learning Center. That bridge would land just a little to the east of it. Not only do we think that's what should be employed, but also there are others think this is what should happen. Having a 6% grade over that railroad track, landing at 156, posing the operational issues that we would no doubt be confronted with, and having a stoplight at FM 156 and a stoplight at Schoolhouse Road does not accomplish mobility. And that's what this whole project, that's what this grant is about. It was connectivity between I-35 and US 287 and increase in mobility, and also coupled with reduction of pollutants. This doesn't help. So at different levels, I have been lobbying for this design. So here we are. We have missed this grant deadline. Right now, we're at 15 months past. And I have been urging all those involved, okay, now is the opportune time, because the original plan was not a good plan in that it couldn't be executed. There are utility issues. There are other issues. There's going to be construction issues. Thus far, what's been constructed is the easiest part. The challenging part is going from henceforth to the west side of our city limit. It's narrow through there. There's lots of rock involved, especially the excavation on the north side of that school. We're talking maybe a quarter of a mile of excavation, about 20 foot deep of topsoil and rock. It would be much more efficient, in my opinion, in time and money invested to build a bridge over all of it. Nonetheless, that is being discussed right now. Next slide. Do I have any other slides? Okay. That's essentially the presentation. There are lots of little details involved, but that is the essence of this project.
Mayor Holsey,
Yes.
just a question on that. With the
Can
build,
you, your mic?
with the build grant expiring here at the end of this year, is there any legal issues based upon that going 15 months
That
out?
is being discussed with federal highway authorities as we speak, is to end the build grant where the concrete lies as it is today. If you take them back to the first slide, I believe. At that point right there, it says approximate end of the. So that is a conversation that both TxDOT and North Central Texas Council of Governments and the city of Haslet are having right now. Is where is and what's the definition of that endpoint, so there is no one suffers from not meeting that completion date. And it appears Federal Highway Authority is amenable, but there are details. And I have been stating to TxDOT and others that this project has changed. The city council signed off on this project, and now we're changing this project, and we're not moving forward until I bring this definition back to the city council of the city of Haslet. So, when we get to those points, and that has been defined, it'll be brought back to the city council.
I guess to follow up on the question, if that's the end point at the end of this year, is there any grant money that's going to be going back to the federal that we would have to reapply?
No.
Or anything? Okay.
That's, all of that's being discussed right now.
Okay.
And I'll say right now, it appears that we're not in jeopardy of returning any money.
What is
So, and you have another question? Any questions down here?
Yes. What is the cost of the first bridge? You said 16 million. And do we know the cost or approximate cost of the second design?
We were at the first meeting that we had at La Terra Kitchen. It was estimated to be $32 million over the entire project, over the the track 156 and Schoolhouse Road.
But that was a bridge over all of those. But when
All
they
of
came
it.
back with a design, it was just over.
And
the
it came
BNSF
back
overall.
at the second meeting, here's what we're doing. And I'll tell you, be frank, my jaw hit the ground as a couple of other people in the room. Is that really, that's what you're proposing? So, but we're at that point. This plan did not get to be executed. The whole thing was kind of orchestrated in that, okay, we're going to move the utilities out of the way on a strict schedule here, and we're pouring concrete right behind you. That's bad business in any kind of construction, whether it's a building or a road, much less something like this. So it was aggressive. I guess people were well-meaning, but it just was not anything that you do voluntarily and consciously. So next question.
Yes, my question was just to clarify, they're not sure if it's going to stop at the end of the concrete or all the way to 156. They're still discussing that.
That's what the topic is right now. If we build that full bridge, where we are is the best place to stop it right now. You know, having a full bridge across all of it, the emphasis is mobility. And the primary user of this, yes, Haslet, Texas owns this roadway and the bridge and everything else, is to get the people from Fort Worth to work and get them home. But for some reason, we wanted every one of them to stop at Schoolhouse Road and 156. There is no destination there. And then climb up a 6% grade bridge. If it ever the weather is bad, it should ice. We don't have any equipment. I've checked with Public Works and they have confirmed they cannot maintain it. They cannot salt it or sand it. They have no way to get up that bridge under that situation. So we've had to look at it as a operational issue. It is an operational problem. And then also, no doubt, it does rain often enough that the accidents will be pervasive. So it's a real concern. It is a very big concern. And that's why I'm pressing for the full bridge across the track, FM 156 and Schoolhouse Road. And that addresses the spirit of that grant called mobility. So, any other questions?
Yeah, was there any discussion on why they came back with a much smaller bridge? Was money ever talked about to decide, okay, maybe this is too much to spend on a bridge and we're going to cut it back? Or what was the reason they gave for showing a plan that goes over these 3 roads and then coming back with one that only goes over the railroad track?
It probably was money. So for them having an explanation to Haslet or anybody else, the answer was no. But we're at that point, as in any engineering project, any project, when your plan goes bust, okay, and you got to change directions. You just don't keep pushing on to the original plan. We take time, we stop, we look, and what are our options? And what is the cost-benefit analysis of doing X versus Y? And that's what needs to happen.
One last question on that. Again, coming from engineering side too, normally we'll put a stop, we'll make things go forward, but we try to put a plan forward on when we're going to get things done. Do we have any ECD or anything of how we're actually going to be moving
ECD,
forward?
what is that?
Estimated completion dates on when certain things are going to be going so that we get back on, so that we can get back onto that March track of 2026, that 15.
Oh, it's, that answer is no. City of Haslet doesn't drive that boat.
I agree.
But I have been driving the boat in that, you know, I showed you the meeting, you know, right after this. Show that next page, number 2, I think it is. This right here has been I insisted that we have weekly project meetings. over a year and a half ago on this project because I saw things starting getting sideways due to lack of communication. This was City of Haslet insisting that there is a weekly project meeting that's attended to by TxDOT and the contractors and the other parties involved. So that's our effort. So I would love to have something like that, but I will keep you posted as time goes on. But you have the background, and here's where we are. But we're at a critical point of inflection right now, and some people need to set their pride and egos aside, and we'll decide which is the best way to go and the best use of funds and money and the best effect for Haslet, Texas. Any other questions? And if not, we'll move on to our next agenda item. Now, item number 7 is our consent agenda. We have the May 2024 regular city council meeting minutes. Council?
Mayor Halsey,
Yes.
I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Motion is made to accept the consent agenda as presented. Is there a second?
Mayor, I second.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, council. Item number 8. 8A. Discuss, consider, and act on proposed budget amendment for the Keller-Haslet Road project. Ms. Lamb.
Okay, on the Keller-Haslet Road project, with the current status of that project, we had originally budgeted $190,000 for the project, and again, most of that would be reimbursed by other project partners. And due to the cost of acquiring the right-of-way that is needed and the current procedures that are taking place in the courts, we are asking the council to consider a budget amendment of $400,000. This would be the maximum upfront cost that may be required to go ahead and acquire the right-of-way, the kind of worst-case scenario. However, still expecting our project partners to reimburse. This is just a way of being able to fund it and appropriate the funds up front so that that can be accomplished. I believe there were previous discussions about possibly having that come from the contingency, but due to other things and other projects kind of being in stages of being complete and wanting to make sure we have funds available for other project costs that as may be necessary due to our large reserve that we have at the moment and the prospect that this is going to be reimbursed, we're asking the council to consider having this $400,000 come from the reserves rather than the contingency fund.
Let me address that as well. So yes, we had planned to discuss or to take it out of the contingency line item, and that would bring that contingency line item down to, I'm just going to estimate, around $50,000. And we still have 4+ months to go, almost 5. And we know that there are a number of projects that are going to probably need some additional funds, and that's what that contingency line item is for. But if we take this out of that contingency line item, it drains that, and having to come back multiple times for a budget amendment is not a good thing. This allows us to do one budget amendment, take this $400,000 request through a budget amendment out of the reserves, which we have approximately $5.7 million in reserve, fund that that potential cost. It is a potential cost. I think we're on a road to it'll be significantly less, but we need that. Our court date will probably be coming up in short order, and we just need to have those funds ready and available.
Mayor Halsey,
Yes.
and I don't know if this might be a question for Marcy and or you on the aspect of, you said that we can get reimbursed down the road. Is there risk of not getting reimbursed? And if so, how much? Can we quantify that risk?
$400,000.
So there is risk for all $400,000.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
But I doubt I can't say 100%, but I don't envision that at all. But yes, there is a risk. The maximum risk is $400,000.
Do you have a feel?
Yes, I feel very good that we'll be reimbursed.
I have one question. Is it 400 in addition to the 290 budgeted, or is it 400 instead of the 290?
This is an additional.
Yes, it's additional. A lot of the 290 has been being used for engineering costs and other project costs, and that was kind of the original piece that we thought would belong to the city.
Okay, I see the remaining 57.
Yeah.
Any other questions, council?
I got one more question. So you said 400,000 is the max, but it could be 200,000. So if it is 200,000, will that be reversed and put back into the fund that it came from?
Well, there will be nothing. We just won't spend it. It'll still be there. We just won't spend it.
Okay, but it was allocated for a certain project. Does it matter if it
So
needs to
here,
go back?
if you pass this, okay, here's the reserve, and we're going to, out of that reserve, okay, we're going to increase this line item right here by an additional $400,000. Let's say we only spent $120,000. Well, the remaining of that, $280,000, doesn't go anywhere. It's still there, sitting in that line item, but still available for any other item that the council or the city would be confronted with. It just doesn't get spent.
So you said that this is coming on a pretty quick time frame and everything now, based upon going to legal and everything. Would we have any type of see any more visibility into this when we get our budget sessions this summer?
This will be over with by the time we get into budget.
Into budget. Okay, thank you.
So to kind of follow up with Councilmember Nahara, so if once the Keller Haslet roadway extension project is finished, if there's money left over, that line item goes away and then it just
It goes back. It goes to our starting budget for the new year.
Okay, and then
It would just remain in the reserve.
We just cannot spend directly out of reserves. We have to allocate and be transparent of what it's going to.
Are we on item 2 now? Is that
Oh, absolutely.
okay? So Mayor Halsey,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to amend our budget and add $400,000 from the general fund reserve to the Keller Haslet roadway extension project line item fund 26-9303-01-00.
A motion is made to transfer $400,000 from the general fund reserve to the Keller Haslet roadway extension project line item, which is Fund 26, and that line item number being 26-9303-01-00. Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I second.
There is a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, council. Item 9B. This is continued from the May 2024 City Council meeting. Discuss, consider, and act regarding approval of an ordinance amending the master land use plan. Mr. Schwanke. So this is a continuance of the public hearing.
That's correct. You know, since the, our last meeting, we've made several adjustments on this map. The 2 points that I want to mention that were adjusted other than the original ones were down where the fire station is located. I don't know if you can zoom in on that area a little bit. We've identified that more closely with where the parkland is and what's been identified as being parkland as compared to where the fire station is. So the green area, even with an extension out to 156, there's a little bit of leg that goes in between the two off the track. And then the other one is a little bit further south on 156, where there was a church that was previously looking at a site that was in a residential area in the ETJ. Go down right there on, it's now showing right there on just north of Countryside, right, and that's been changed back to residential. The other major change in this map from the other one is we've actually turned the floodplains off, so the properties underneath go up a little bit better. So if you can zoom out to the whole property there, you'll notice there are no floodplains shown. So the tracks are a little bit different looking than they were. They're basically extended out to where they would have gone if there wasn't a floodplain. So those are the changes that have been reflected on this.
So we will continue the public hearing. Is there anybody in the council chambers or online that would like to speak to this topic? Is there anybody online? There's no one online, and there's no one in the chambers. Okay, that time was 7:57 and called the public hearing. Again, it is still 7:57. There is no one online, nor in the council chambers. I will close the public hearing. Okay, council, discuss, consider, and act. It's to you.
Mayor Halsey,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the ordinance amending the master land use plan.
Motion is made to approve the ordinance amending the master land use plan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There is a second. Is there any further discussion? There is none. I call for the vote. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, council. Executive session. There is no need for executive session. Let's go to item 11. Future agenda items that we have is the TRA Fort Worth Sewer Line ILA, the Haslet Parkway City Properties Mowing Contract, and the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office ILA revision. The first two items, the TRA Fort Worth Sewer Line ILA and the Haslet Parkway City Properties Mowing Contract, we expect to have you by this coming meeting or at the latest a month from now. The Tarrant County Sheriff's Office ILA will probably take a little more time since it's got to go through Tarrant County, the Sheriff's Office as well as Commissioners. But that is being pursued. Progress has been made on all three items. Does council have any items they want to add to the future agenda item?
Not add, just could you email us your study that you did for the Haslet construction project? The bridge.
I can, I'll email you those documents.
Thank
you. To the council. And please understanding that's ongoing conversations that we're having. All right? Not particularly for public dissemination. All right, then, council, let's go to item 12.
Mayor Halsey, I move to adjourn.
Motion is made to adjourn. Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I second.
All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, council.